Nebraska football host a pro day, and who do you think was performer number one?
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Huskers gang, appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm DP. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch. Listen each and every single day. Greatly appreciate you hanging out with me and going through this podcast episode. I want to thank the folks from FanDuel Sportsbook, America's number one sportsbook. Number one. It doesn't have peers. It just doesn't. FanDuel.com/lockedon. They've got special things for you. First bet, you can get guaranteed money up to $1,000 if your first bet doesn't win for new customers. New customers. There is a disclaimer. Somebody asked me about that. It has to be a new customer. To FanDuel.com. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, and there are more details there waiting for you. In a pro day at the University of Nebraska, tons of media, all 32 teams showed up, and it lets you know that contrary to some opinions, there was some talent at the University of Nebraska on the football program a year ago. Now, the level of talent, that is a thing to be discussed, and that would be measured. I'm sure that a lot of the scouts that were there measured Nebraska. But this thing had its own full personality and its own focus. And before we get into the who's, we'll get into the what's and the why, because these pro days are another opportunity for these football players who spent time at the University of Nebraska to be able to show their work, to be able to make a different statement, a new statement, and relocate themselves in the eyes and minds of NFL professionals. That's what it's for, is to go in and say, okay, I know what you heard, and I know what you saw on film, but here's what it is now. Here's what I'm offering it to you. It's polished up. It's buffed. It looks good. It's presented in the finest of fines. And then it's a statement of here's where I was in December, January, end of football season, right? And then here's where I am right now. And that bridge between then and now allows NFL teams to project what your next bridge is going to be. Can you ascend from where you are now to NFL level caliber at whatever level and caliber is required? Remember that most of these student athletes went through their season, went through their career at the University of Nebraska with injury. They were beat up, they were battered, they were bruised, they were scarred. And they had 4 months to heal, recover, recuperate, and then refine. Like, you have to get better than you were. Nobody is going to draft a college player if he has not improved since they last saw him. That is a work ethic thing. That is a toughness thing. That is a resilience thing. That is a motivation thing, an ambition thing. And there are every college athlete will tell you that they would aspire to be a professional player. If they love the game, they aspire to be a professional. But then that other thing is required, the actual work. You don't get to just tell me that you want to be an NFL player. You don't just get to say that I love this game so much without working at it. And from end of season to today, all of these Husker athletes had the ability to change their bodies, to heal, to recover, to recuperate, and then to redefine who they are as athletes and as football players. Now, there is a thing that also plays into this thing. All of the things off the field. Pro Day is 75% about what you do between the hash marks when they put you out there to go up and down a field. To drill, repetition, high repetition, explosiveness, strength, speed, power, all of those things. But 25% of this is a big piece because it allows you to show your work when academics is not a part of what you're going to have to focus on. If your ability to just be graded on football and football skill and football talent, what does it look like? Now, each thing still makes a statement because every NFL team has a pretty good idea about somebody's physicality, about what their physical talents are. And a lot of them question who you are off the field, why you are who you are off the field. Do you have an understanding for why you're in the situation that you're in? To ask your feelings and your impressions on what people perceive about you. Because they're all being asked. They're all being asked. You know what? Is what I'm hearing true? Whether it's good or bad, is what I'm hearing true about you? And they get to show they get to speak for themselves. This is who I am. This is a statement of who I am. Some of them will be more evaluated and they'll be assessed based on the questions that exist about them off the field. Will they study enough? Will they work enough? Will they control their diet? Will they change their body? Will they elevate their skills? Are they coachable? Who is their circle off the field? What's the amount of work that's too much for them? Do they love playing football? And do they love it enough to do the work, to be a paid professional for it? And all of these guys, these are names that if you're a Husker fan, they're you know who they are. You've been around them for at least a year, in some cases 4, 5. Caleb Tanner's case, he's been here forever. But we'll talk about these young men in the kindest of terms because at this point they've earned the right for respect and to be considered. And they're asking for NFL teams to consider them. They're asking for USFL teams to consider them. They're asking for XFL teams and Canadian Football League teams and arena teams to consider them. There is a big pool for work opportunity when it comes to professional football. Today, a lot of these Huskers put in the work to create a new resume for who they are as football players and as people. We'll throw it a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of these young men. Some of these young men who put their name on the line today down at Memorial Stadium. So we'll be right back to Locked On. Hey, gang, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch. First listen each and every single day. Please take a moment and subscribe, follow, like, share. And if you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on social media. This content will be available to you as well. Just my name, @Derrick Pearson. You can follow me and get it through. I want to thank you for making the first watch and listen each and every day. Locked On Huskers. The second should be Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown. Here's where it works, how it works. National analysis, top-level analysis. You're going to get coaches. You're going to get players. You're going to get experts to tell you what's going on to help you make an informed decision on your Sweet 16 bracket. Right? If you're going to dive in the pool and you want to speak intelligently about it, Locked On College Basketball, the bracket breakdown can give you those details and give you the information you need. You can find the episode on YouTube or however you consume your podcast. We were talking about Pro Day and what the things away from the field that affect Pro Day. Then you get into what actually has your eyes are drawn to, okay, how does this player look today? And I have to give credit to the Huskers who participated today. They put in some work. Garrett Nelson is slimmed up. He's trimmed up. Not that he had much to work from. But he looks like a guy who I can see with a long special teams career in the NFL. He looks like a guy who has a long NFL career as an edge setter, pass rusher in the NFL. He didn't look blocky. He looked crisp. He looked defined. To watch him move, he moved. He was certainly moving with athletic arrogance. He was comfortable in his body movement. He was comfortable in what they were asking him to do. He looked like a Sunday guy. The same could be said for the guy from the other side of this Husker defense, Caleb Tanner. When he walks in the room, he looks like, okay, he's done the work. He's done the work. With Caleb, Husker fans, you've seen him evolve from early Caleb to current Caleb. And I think that we need to remember that when we assess him going forward. Now, he's another guy that, from an athletic standpoint, I can see NFL coaches drooling over him with his ferocity and his tenacity, sprinting down on special teams, being able to close in open field and make plays in open space against people who are smaller, quicker, faster, more athletic. But I also could see him as a versatile drop and blitz edge setter. Now, this is where Pro Day gets interesting, where all the teams are in. Each team has a different need and want for their various positions. Not everybody wants a stand-up edge who walks up. Can the guy walk up and be in the front three? Can he walk up and be in the front four? Can he walk up from a four position and then walk up into a five front? Can he then drop from that edge into flat space, take on a big who's rolling downhill, who's pulled into a screen or pulled into a trap? Can he handle that? Make an aggressive play, shed a 325-pound offensive lineman, and then get his hands and paws on a 4.40 running back or receiver. Caleb Tanner checks a lot of boxes for those things. Then it becomes a matter of your system and then what you need Caleb to do within that system. But I mentioned the star of the day. And there's a young man who pops. In pro wrestling speak, pop is just the buzz that's required, that happens in response to this person's presence. And it's the same thing that happened when he was on the field this year. That when Trey Palmer walked on the field, every Husker fan believed that there was the possibility of something spectacular happening, something great happening. We watched him in the bowl games. We watched him in other workouts where we've seen the numbers. And then today he got to put his foot in the ground. And here's the difference between Trey and everybody else. Anybody else that runs a 4.340 is throwing confetti in the air and celebrating. Trey Palmer is disappointed because he didn't run a 4.2. The wisest thing that he could have said today was that he was disappointed in his time, because it means there's a hunger, there's a drive, there's a strive for more, for better, for best. But when you have the kind of speed that Trey Palmer has and you walk into a room where speed matters and speed changes your location in the draft, especially when that speed is attached to toughness, that you're willing to catch the ball in the middle, you're willing to catch short passes and create offense after the catch, and then the ability to accelerate and change the space between you and a defender, no matter who that defender is. When the speed accounts for and is a part of your ability to return punts and kickoffs. In the NFL, that's added value, and every single NFL team would like to have a guy who can catch passes, stretch defenses, and return kicks and punts. Every single one. Think from the perspective of Tyreek Hill and what he's done in the space that he's in. Think of Deshaun Jackson. Think of those guys, the burners, the absolute elite burners. Elite burners. Who also have a track record for making big plays in games that matter, in meaningful games at high levels of competition. And Trey Palmer's ability to break down Big Ten defenses and create big plays. Well, if you're an NFL scout or an NFL offensive coordinator or an NFL quarterback or an NFL receivers coach, and especially if you're an NFL special teams coach, your smile got a little wider and a little bit more confirmed when you saw Trey Palmer today. There are other guys that were there that we need to talk about, so we'll throw it to break there. But there are other folks that are putting this thing out there, and one of them's a big story. He's a big man. We'll talk about him when we come back to Locked On. Welcome back, Locked On Huskers. DP, appreciate you again. Lincoln, America. We're in the middle of this thing, bringing you the news from Huskers Pro Day. And we want to thank the folks from FanDuel once again for what they do. Here's the way it works. Don't miss out on your chance. Go download the app. It's safe. It's free. Easy to use. But you can get your no sweat first bet. If you're a new customer, no sweat first bet up to $1,000 and bonus bets when you go FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Again, new customers, that's the disclaimer. So jump on and have yours. We were talking about Trey Palmer. We talked about Garrett Nelson, talking about Caleb Tanner. And then there's another big name that participated today, Travis Vokalek. And he has been working in change. I saw him here face-to-face a week ago, and he's impressive. He looks amazing. To the broken hearts of many of the young people in the state of Nebraska, he cut his hair, which, was a Thor thing that folks would just lose it. And a fantastic mullet that he's decided to do something else with, and he's grown up. And so sometimes you put away those things. But at his size and his speed, now with 20 catches in his pocket for the season, and I always thought that Nebraska underutilized Travis Vokalek. I've thought that for 3 years. 20 catches for his size. Now, we know he can block and he's willing to be tackle extended, but this is a young man who's athletically gifted, who can put his feet in the ground, get his head around, keeps his core rock solid, pretty good teammate and a pretty good leader. I can also see NFL teams looking at his size and looking at his skill set and seeing him in their offense and on their special teams. It was a busy day out there for these folks. A name that popped, Oliver Martin. Oliver Martin, people have talked about how fast he is, but today they get to see how explosive he is with an almost 12-foot broad jump. That was the best of the day. So when somebody's that athletic and who's been a part of Big Five programs at several, Oliver Martin tests very well. And what you look for is, and just kind of circle that if it's not an NFL thing, it may be an XFL or USFL thing. He and Omar Manning worked out today, and they got to show who they are and where they currently exist as athletes and as football players. And I would not be surprised if several somebodies, took a shot on these two Husker pass catchers. Omar Manning looks the part. And maybe he'll be freed up, not big at Nebraska, and so that he can grow into the greater version of himself. And then Oliver Martin can expand and grow. and be the receiver that they're both guys who started at the University of Nebraska at some point. So there's talent, there's skill. Maybe their next opportunity is exactly what they need, exactly where they need it, and exactly who they need it with. They're both coachable. They're both skilled. Fingers crossed for them all, for the whole group that was out there today. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, because today was an interesting day, and it could be a big day for these young men. Bravo to you folks who put the work in today. Again, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch. Listen each and every single day. Your second watch and listen should be Locked On College Basketball. Isaac and Andy take you through. They break it down for you. They get you straight, get you ready for Sweet 16, get you all set up for the Grade 8 and the Final Four, get you all set up for NBA playoffs, for UFC, whatever it is, they can help you. Yeah. Isaac knows UFC. Things you need to know. Again, we'll close this with the 3 words that we love so much. Go Big Red.